It's time for another one-off rebuild, and today we're heading over to Germany to the Bundesliga to try and rebuild Borussia Mönchengladbach. That's right, we'll be taking over one of the most historic clubs in German football after a very poor season for them in real life compared to how they normally do. But there's a bigger problem on top of that we need to fix. Their squad isn't the best, and some of their key players like Marcus Thuram look to be leaving this summer, and we're going to need to correct that. We'll be giving ourselves 5 years as the boss of Borussia Mönchengladbach in this video, focusing only on transfers in the hopes of trying to get this club back to the top of the Bundesliga. It certainly won't be easy, but this club certainly has the ability to reach those kind of heights. If we have a look, particularly during the 70s, Mönchengladbach were one of the best sides in world football. Runners-up in the Champions League in 77, 5 Bundesliga titles all in the 70s, and 2 runners-up as well in that time. They won 2 Europa Leagues in that same decade and were runners-up in the Europa League final on 2 occasions, or the equivalent of what the Europa League would have been then. And those are the kind of heights that we'll be hoping to reach again with this historic club. We're going to delve into the player issues in a second, but first I'm going to ask you guys, before we get started, if you could be an absolute legend and smash that like button. It takes a few seconds, it's free for you to do, and it really does help with the video's performance. YouTube thinks, oh, it's a good video, people are liking it, and then it pushes it in front of more eyes. So it would be great if you could hit that like button for me. And also, if you haven't yet subscribed, if you're in this percentage of people that still aren't subscribed yet but are watching the rebuilds, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because even if like 10% of you guys did, we'd hit our goal of 20,000 subscribers, which we are getting very, very close to. Comment down below who you want to see rebuilt next, and let's get right into it. So you can see that our squad isn't the largest in the world, and we don't really have too many star players, but the one player that is quite clearly a star that still has the potential to get better and become potentially world class is Marcus Thuram here, the Frenchman, who's got 4 international appearances, is a great player for us, but we can't offer him a contract because he's decided he's leaving at the end of the season, and that is something that's happening in real life too. I believe at the time of recording he's possibly moving to one of the Milan clubs on a free, but yes, Marcus Thuram, one of our best players, will be heading out the door. We've also got this guy, Rami Bensebaini, who is one of our most important players. The Algerian left back is another one where we can't offer him a contract. He's decided he is leaving at the end of the year. But all hope isn't lost, because we do have some key players that can really help the team. The likes of Jonas Hoffmann, yes, he might be heading into his later years of his career, but he is our most talented player by far. Florian Neuhaus has been linked with moves away for years from the German club. I believe Liverpool at one point were supposedly interested, and right now he is staying at the club, a couple of years on his contract as well, so hopefully we can tie him down for longer. But the jewel in our crown is certainly Manu Kone. The French 21-year-old midfielder is already very talented, and he's got the potential to get way better yet, and hopefully we can start to build our side around him. We've not got the best facilities in the world, junior coaching or youth recruitment, so we're going to want to upgrade them as time goes on. And our staff situation isn't too bad, it's fairly decent, but I'd like to improve on it as we go through this simulation. But as we do in all of these rebuilds, for the first season, we're just going to simulate ahead to see how Borussia Mönchengladbach get on here compared to real life, and then we'll really get our fingers into it, start making transfers, start selling players, and putting our own stamp on this squad. So let's simulate the first year. And it's been a hugely successful season for our Mönchengladbach side. I mean, we were runners-up in the DFB Pokal, which is already great. That's the German FA Cup equivalent, if you didn't already know. And then in the Bundesliga, we've actually got ourselves a Champions League spot. The only teams we lost out to were probably the ones that we expected. Bayern, Dortmund, Leipzig, all up there. But we have secured ourselves a Champions League spot in our first year, which is going to make our life a lot easier compared to where they finished in real life, which I believe was about 10th place in the league. And it was Schalke that we lost the Pokal final to. We conceded an extra time to lose 3-2, kind of bottled it because we were 2-0 up in a 94th minute. Schalke equalised, and then they scored straight away in extra time. So we were very, very close there to having a great first season, but it wasn't to be, although we'll certainly take that Champions League finish. Here's where a part of the big issue lies though. If we have a look at who our highest goal scorer of the season was, it's of course Marcus Thuram, the man that's going to be leaving us this year. He's off to join Bayer Leverkusen, a potential rival of all teams, and we're going to be losing him. So it's time to say goodbye to Thuram, and we need to find some star quality to fill his boots now in the team. This is the kind of tactic we ended up deploying for the season, a 4-2-3-1, kept it quite basic, and if I did select our best 11 without any restrictions, this is what you would see. So it's a guy called Omlin in goal, Stefan Lehner at right back, Elvedi and Ko Itakura at centre back. Just to quickly familiarise yourself with some of these players. Rami, who we spoke about earlier, is going to be joining Dortmund, so another player player that's joining a potential rival. Newhouse in the midfield with Weigl, who's on loan and we're not going to be keeping him after this season. Thuram, who's leaving. Alassane Pli, who's now 30 years of age and maybe isn't the world's best striker. Hoffman and Wolf in the midfield. We've got plenty of talent on the bench, but like I say, we're losing a fair few of these players and it's time to start reinvesting and lowering the age of this squad so we can build around these young talents like Manu Kone in our team. We've been given £20 million to spend and £100,000 in the wage budget, so let's see what we can do as we really get stuck into our rebuild as we start season 2. Firstly, we improve a left back position by signing this guy, Emanuele Valeri, an Italian left back who can also play a little bit further forward if needed, certainly an attacking threat in that fullback spot. 24 years old, good going forward, but also strong defensively, and he cost us a grand old price of absolutely nothing. We signed him from the Italian divisions after a good season out in Serie A. Certainly happy to have him on board, and he comes in at left back as one of our best options already. We then splashed £4 million that could potentially lead to being a bit more in the future, as you can see, 4.3 potentially on this man, Ilyes Hamash, a player coming in from the second division of France after a very good season for Valenciennes FC. If we take a look at him, he's a left-sided player, nice and quick with the potential to get better. We lose one French player from the wing and we have signed another to replace him. Decent finisher, good crossing ability, can pass fairly well. I'm not expecting him to be Thuram level straight away, but he's certainly got the potential to be able to slot into our team eventually and become a top player for us. Speaking of top players though, we have signed someone here who immediately increases the star power of our 11, someone that comes in as one of our best players. It's Luka Ivanusic. He signed from Dinamo Zagreb out in Croatia for £5 million, which is a bargain of a deal after the season that he's just had. He's a tricky dribbler who's quick and has also got great balance and agility. He can pass the ball well, can shoot when needed, he's decent on the set pieces, and he can put a cross in. Works hard for the team, some good player traits as well. He is going to be, I think, one of the best signings that we make for this whole rebuild. A Croatian international for £5 million who's only 24 years of age, going to get another 6 or 7 years out of his career here at Mönchengladbach hopefully, so I'm very happy with that signing. And of course our striker currently was Alassane Pli, or player. I don't know how you pronounce it exactly, but I thought we needed some competition for him, so we've gone out and signed Portuguese 25-year-old Beto from Udinese out in the Italian divisions after a good season for them. He cost us 15 million, Udinese signed him for 6. I think he is going to be an absolute beast because he's strong, he's quick, and he's good in the air. Combine that with his work rate and his finishing ability as well as his ability to head the ball. I really do think this 6'4" forward could absolutely destroy the Bundesliga here. We'll be crossing our fingers that he does. He's cost us a fair chunk of our money. It was most of our budget, but he certainly improves our team. If we have a look now at our best 11, this is what we've got. It's going to be Omlin in goal, Lina Elvedi, Itakura Valeri at the back with Kone and Newhouse in the midfield. A nice young midfield pair in there. Hoffman, Ivanusic, player, and also Beto up top. So quite a lot of our new players coming straight in to that first 11. Hopefully they can impress us this season, but let's see how we get on in season 2. And it's a much more disappointing season, but I think there's some caveats that we need to put before we really write this season off as a failure. Firstly, the DFB Pokal knocked out in the third round, quite disappointing, but then it is to Bayern Munich, so maybe not the worst thing in the world. On top of that, in the league, we got 6 less points than last time, getting only 59 points and finishing in 5th place. Leipzig in the end got the title. Bayern have had like a 20-point fall off compared to last season, but we have finished in 5th in a Europa League place, which is obviously worse than last year. But obviously we did lose some of our best players that we couldn't immediately replace. And on top of that, we also had the Champions League to compete in as well. That would have meant some extra games this year, and maybe we weren't as fit for our Bundesliga matches. It wasn't a good showing for us at all in the Champions League though. 1 win in 6 games, losing the other 5. We beat Ajax at home 1-0, minus 13 goal difference. We got absolutely destroyed, and realistically we really got shown up here, so clearly we're not ready to take that step into the Champions League just yet. But if we have a look at our best performers, Beto has absolutely smashed it, coming in and scoring 25 goals in 26 appearances. He was one of the only reasons we were semi-successful this year. Hoffman doing well, Ivanusic coming in with 9 goals in his first season, a brilliant first year out in the Bundesliga for him. Valerie as well, having a good year at left back, even though he only played 13 matches for some reason, must have had an injury. Manu Kone got much more game time this year and is starting to develop because of that. The only issue that I have seen though is I don't negotiate some of these players' contracts. They're happening automatically whilst I simulate ahead, and you can see that some of these players are only staying in the circumstances that they have a release clause added. Kone, for example, has got a £25 million release clause, and also Beto, I I've noticed has a release clause of 23 million, so we just need to be careful there. A lot of other players in the team have release clauses too, so we need to try and negotiate some deals here to get rid of them. So I'm going to be working on that over the summer, as well as some new transfers in season 3. We'll start off with the sales that we've made in our third season, but first, if you haven't yet hit that like button, please go ahead and smash it for us. It really would help the video. But yes, our first sale was Stefan Leiner, who has gone to Hoffenheim for 1.6 million, only started 2 games for us last year, so we've let him out of the door. Christoph Kramer as well has gone off to Wolfsburg. The 33-year-old has moved on for 1.1 million. Last year he only started 9 games. He's been at the club for a while, but we're going to take some money for him and reinvest that in the team. And unfortunately, as I predicted, some of those release clauses did come back to bite us, because Beto, after one decent season for us, I say decent, one very good season for us, has gone and signed for Real Madrid, 23 million. Even without a release clause, it would have been very hard to try and keep this guy in our team with Real Madrid interested. They've offered him 105 grand a week. We could not compete with that, so we have to say goodbye to Beto and we have to replace him already. And his replacement is going to be Nicholas Jackson of Villarreal. Currently in real life, it looks like he might be moving to Chelsea. We've looked for a player in a similar vein to Beto, someone that's physically very dangerous, and Jackson fits the bill. At 23, he's quick, he's strong, and he's also got decent jumping reach as well, with years to get better yet. He's got 18 appearances for Senegal and 9 goals here. He's a good finisher, he's going to work hard, he's also got good technique as well, and he can dribble at a very high level for a striker, can offer an option on the wing if needed, and he, thankfully, does not have a release clause, so we shouldn't have to worry about that anymore. Valued at about 40 million, we paid 15 million pounds for him, so I think that's a great bit of business to replace Beto up front. We've added some depths on the wings by signing Nigerian 27-year-old Xavier Godwin on a free deal. I've never heard of him before, but he was available, having left Cassiopeia, a Portuguese team, where he's had 2 very good seasons for them. Left them as a free agent. We've picked him up, and he's going to offer some depth on the wings. And then we improved our centre-back position with 2 signings. The first one is Radu Dragusin. He's got a great haircut, but on top of that, he's got some great attributes. 22 years of age, a defender who can pass fairly well. He's quick, he's fairly strong, he's decent in the air, he's 6'3", an international who can head the ball, and he's also very good at the defensive elements as well. Yes, he's not going to be a world-class centre-back, but as an option to help us through this whole rebuild, I think he could be a great pick, and the Romanian slots straight in. He's been at Genoa during this simulation in Serie B and has had 2 great seasons for them, so we've paid £8 million for him, but we also signed another centre-back to back him up, and I think it's my favourite player we've got in this whole rebuild so far, Abakar Seiler. I've never came across him before, but he's an Ivorian 21-year-old at this point, 6'2", with amazing physical attributes. He's quick and he's great in the air as well as being really strong. He's dominant when it comes to his heading, he's aggressive, a top-level leader at the age of 21 as well. He's left-footed and he loves the defensive side of the game. We've signed him for a pretty pricey £26 million from Club Bruges, who picked him up from the Ivorian divisions. He's had 2 good seasons for them and looks like he's really becoming a top-tier talent. So hopefully he'll continue that with us. He takes a step up into the Bundesliga and we'll hope that he can be an unreal player for us. And with our season 3 transfers complete, here is our new best 11. You've got Hoffman, Ivanusic, Godwin and Jackson are in there. You might also notice some new names coming in, like Joe Scally here. He's someone that's been with us the whole time but has started to develop now. 21 years of age, the USA right back, is hopefully going to be a big player for us. We've also got a player at left back who looks very promising, Luca Netz, who I know was a wonder kid a few years ago in FM. He'll be challenging Valeri in that left back spot for a few years now, but our defence is a completely new one. We've got a new striker and 2 new attackers. We're really starting to put our own stamp on this team within our 3 seasons here, with some great depth players as well. Let's see how we can get on in season 3. Can we beat 59 points? Can we get a Champions League spot again? Fingers crossed, all goes well. And I don't think this is a success by any stretch of the imagination, but we are in a Champions League spot, and this is starting to be a harder rebuild than I thought it might. I kind of had the idea we'd win the Bundesliga by now, maybe try and push on for a Champions League, but not sure we're quite there. 55 points. That's a huge deduction from where we were in our first season, and our points total's only been going down over the years. We're lucky that was enough to get us a spot in the top 4. Dortmund winning the league with 76 points. The teams ahead of us are all the ones that you would expect. The DFB Pokal knocked out in the quarters by Leipzig. The Europa League, we were knocked out in the quarters by Benfica. It's just not great, in all honesty. I don't know what's been happening to us. Especially when you look at some of our best performers like Nicholas Jackson here, having an incredible first season at the club with 22 goals in 34 appearances. That's brilliant from the 23-year-old and all that we could ask for him, but in all appearances he scored 45 goals and Ivanušić contributed with 11. Hoffman's ended up getting 17. We're scoring a lot of goals, we must just be conceding like nobody's business. Now, at first I thought this might have just been a bad season and something's gone wrong, but I've had a few clicks around and you might notice, particularly in this midfield position, someone's missing. So I went ahead, went to the transfer screen, went to transfer history, and you can see whilst we were simulating the season, we've lost 2 players. The first one was Jordan Bayer, who left in January on a release clause to Borussia Dortmund. That really lowered our options at right back. He went for £5.5 million to the German club. And then on top of that, I don't understand how we're losing these players to fellow German clubs, but Manu Kone, the player that we wanted to build around in the midfield, who's becoming a top-level player, his release clause was activated by Wolfsburg. He had a low release clause of only 25 million, and in January he was poached from us. He's gone to play for them now. He's a world-class midfielder as well, and we've lost him. So yeah, now you can see why maybe the season hasn't gone as well as we might have wanted it to. There's going to be a lot of work to be done now in season 4, but we have got a huge budget of 64 million, so we need to spend this right to try and make this team at least semi-capable of competing for the title. And I think this has been a phenomenal window for us. For a pretty cheap fee, we've managed to pick up 5 or 6 top-level players for our team. Firstly, probably the worst of a bunch, who's still a very good player. Folarin Balogun has signed, the Arsenal player who was on loan at Reims in real life and had a great year, was available as a free agent. With us being in the Champions League, we'll be playing a lot of matches, so we need the depth, so Balogun comes in to deputise for Jackson up top. We've signed a new goalkeeper for our team as well, signing Stefano Turati from Sassuolo for £17 million. He was on loan at Frosinone in the first season, getting a 7.27 average match rating, became Sassuolo's first choice keeper, and has been developing quite well. Even though he hasn't been performing the best, I definitely see a player here that we could build around. He comes in as our best goalkeeper, better than Jonas Omlin here, the 31-year-old, so now we have a very good option in the net. And for 17 million, hopefully he'll work out as a good signing. We've added some star quality to the midfield, signing Moroccan international Sofian Amrabat, who's being linked to the likes of Barcelona currently and Manchester United in real life. He had a great World Cup with Morocco, and now at the age of 28, we've picked him up from Fiorentina for only 15 million, which I think is a great deal. This guy's a good passer, he works hard, he's going to tackle, naturally fit, he's going to be that player buzzing around in that midfield spot, possibly as the box-to-box midfielder, creating chances and breaking up play for our team. We did lose Kone, but we've signed Amrabat to replace him, as well as this guy, Nicolas Capaldo, who joins from RB Salzburg for £12 million. Quite often you do see players from the Austrian divisions making a step into the Bundesliga, and it's happened here again. He's been playing well when he's been given the opportunity at Salzburg, so we've paid £12.5 million for this player. A central midfielder, again another brilliant hard worker who's got a lot of stamina and natural fitness. He's quick, he's fairly good technically, and also a nice breaker of the play. He comes in as one of our best midfielders, but you might recognise a new name on the list here. We have signed Adam Karabek as well. He is our final signing of this window, £7.5 million from Sparta Prague. I think it's a great deal. We signed the Czech Republic international for a cheap fee. He's going to be a brilliant player in that number 10 role. He's left-footed, he's got good first touch, a decent passer who can finish well, he's quick, he's agile, he likes to dribble, and he's going to be a nightmare for defenders. We paid £7.5 million. He's valued at nearly 35 already, which shows you how good of a deal we've got there, and he comes in as one of our best players at only the age of 22, so I think that's great business there. So now I think our team is definitely set for season 4. Hopefully it can be a better year. I think we've added some real talent to that first 11 as opposed to just getting some depth options. I think Turati is a big improvement in goal. Karabek is hopefully going to be great too, and we really hope that this season it will work out, else this might be a real failure of a rebuild. So let's see what we can do in our 4th season, our penultimate one. Can it be a success? And it certainly has been. It's been a much better year than I could possibly have wanted, because we finished on a new record for us, 74 points as champions of the Bundesliga, 6 losses and 5 draws, but we still managed to get the title. In all honesty, 74 points is not a lot to win the title with. Bayern won it with like 91 in the first year, so I feel like we might have just had a case of everyone else being bad this time round, but we have won the Bundesliga. We'll have a little bit more of a look in that in a second, because we only won by 3 points, but we got into the round of 16 of the Champions League, much better than before. The biggest issue though, we're going to ignore the fact that we did lose in the first round of the Pokal to Bischofswerder FEO8. I have no idea who they are. I think they might even be an amateur club, and they beat us, which is absolutely insane. I mean, let's just say fair play to them, but awful from us to lose to a team like them in the first round of the Pokal. That must be one of the biggest upsets in German football history, really. But let's forget about it. We obviously overcame that, ended up winning the Bundesliga, which we haven't done since the 70s, which is an incredible result, beating Schalke on the last day of the season 4-0. Amrabat, Karabakh, Jackson and Wolf getting the goal. We did not back down on the final day. We won, which meant Dortmund finished 3 points behind us. On top of that, in the Champions League, we managed to knock out Monaco to get into the round of 16, where we beat Arsenal at home, but it wasn't to be away, where at the Emirates they bagged 4 goals against us. Brennan Johnson, Martinelli, Odegaard and Musa scoring 4, and Karabakh was only able to get 1. And speaking of Karabakh, this guy has had a great year. I mean, Jackson once again is amazing for us up front, scoring 29 goals. Karabakh scored 8 and is starting to develop into a top level player. If you haven't yet signed him in any of your saves, certainly give him a go. Capaldo had a great year. Ivanusic, Balogun, when we called upon him, managed to score some goals as well. Why is Elvedi in our best 11? Don't tell me we've lost another one to a release clause. Where's Silla? The man was like born to be our captain. He had 19 leadership at the age of 19 or whatever it was. Where is he? Oh, he's actually gone. We actually did lose another player to the release clause. Abakar Silla, we signed him from Club Brugge for 26 million. He has gone to PSG for 36 in January, I think, and only played 1 game as well. Oh, he didn't even go in January. He went at the start of the season. Oh, that's so unfortunate, man. So we played this whole year without him and I didn't even know. And he only played 1 time for PSG. Why would he ever make that move? I mean, he's completely ruined his career now. He was going to be a legend at the club if he stayed here with that 19 leadership. He could have been captain at 23 and stayed with us forever. But no, he's moved on. Yes, we make a profit. It's money to reinvest. But I didn't even know we played a whole season without him, which makes the result that we got even more impressive. Now, though, we've got £88 million in the bank and 150 grand in the wage budget. For our final season, can we elevate this team to another level? Maybe winning a Champions League is quite far-fetched, but we've got to build a team that can at least try for that. Let's see how we can do in our final year as Mönchengladbach manager. We'll start off with some outgoings because we didn't just have Silla leave the club. We've also had Jonas Omlin here leaving for another German club, joining Dusseldorf for 4 million. With Tarati joining, he wasn't our best goalkeeping option anymore, so we've let him go. Hans Wolf has headed out to Almeria out in Spain for 3.3 million. Wasn't playing as much for us nowadays. 20 bench appearances last season was all he got in the league. No starts at all. So we've let him go. I think he had a year left on his contract or something like that. He goes out to Spain. I'm sure he'll do well there, but we took the money and we ran away with it. And we lost Ko Itakura on a free. I would have liked to have had him as a depth option at centre-back, but he decided he wasn't going to sign a new deal with us. I said, fair enough. He's gone out to Sassuolo, where I'm sure he'll be great in Italy, but he is a big miss, and he is someone that we're going to need to replace in that centre-back slot. So with Itakura and Silla gone, we needed some real star quality at centre-back, so we've gone over to Chelsea and bought in Levi Colville, the 23-year-old England international in this save, already with 8 appearances, has joined the Bundesliga champions. For 34 million, we have signed a Chelsea centre-back, which seems like a great deal. Very happy to have him on board. He can play the ball nicely, is a left footer as well, so replaces Silla at a good level. It's pretty much all the money that we made from our Silla sale has gone straight into Colville, but I think he might even be a potential improvement in the long term. And to replace Itakura as that depth option at centre-back, we have gone for 25-year-old Dutch centre-back Mies Hilgers, who has joined us from FC Twente after 4 very good seasons for them in the Eredivisie. We've paid about £13 million for this guy. He's 6 foot, so he's not the biggest in the world, but he has got good jumping reach and heading. Fairly good defending. He wasn't my first choice centre-back, but look, we've ended up signing him. He's going to be a depth option at most, and probably won't play that many games this season. A Dutch international, not yet in his prime. I certainly will take that in the team. I've added a couple of improvements to the midfield, firstly signing Christoph Zafaris here, a Norwegian 23-year-old who comes in again from Slavia Prague. We are stealing most of the Czech club's best players at this point. He had a great year for them last time out, came up in the scout report, so we've bought him in for a very cheap fee of 6.5 million. Karabakh was great last year. Hopefully Zafaris can adapt as well as he did. A brilliant passer of the ball, great off the ball work. He's someone that I definitely think improves the team in that midfield slot. A bit of a coup for our Mönchengladbach team though. We have signed Ryan Gravenberch from Bayern Munich for a very cheap fee of 11 million. He was transfer listed by Bayern after not really settling settling there. I mean, he went on loan as well to Hertha and didn't do too great there either, but we've brought him in. There's definitely still a player there, only 24, years to get better yet, lots of potential. He might not have turned into the player that many of us expected him to do during the simulation after signing for Bayern from Ajax, but he's certainly a good talent, a nice passer, physically very big as well, 6'3", years to get better yet, a very well-rounded midfielder, as you can tell from his attribute graph here. And fingers crossed he can take that step up and be a great player for us. And our final sign-in to complete the rebuild was Noah Lang, a 27-year-old at this point, Dutch international signing from Club Brugge, where he's been brilliant over the last few years. He comes in for 20 million as an option on either wing, either as an inside forward on that left-hand side or potentially an inverted winger on the right. I feel like he could do both jobs well, gives us a lot of depth and comes in as one of our best wide options at the whole club. Can also play up front if needed. I'm certainly happy to have him on board. We've added some star quality and our first 11 is now looking very nice. Who would have thought when we started our team would look like this? The only players remaining that we originally had in the team in our best 11 are Joe Scally, and that is it. Everyone else are players that we've brought in ourselves. Obviously, there's some older heads on the bench that are currently Mönchengladbach players, but over 5 years, we've managed to change the team around. We've got Turati in goals, Scally at right back with Dragusin, Colville and Valeri in defence, Capaldo and Zephyrus in the midfield with Karabek, Ivan Nusic, Noah Lang and Nicholas Jackson up front. Very happy with the team we built here. Hopefully in the final season we can add another trophy to the cabinet, whatever it might be. Fingers crossed all goes well. And again, it's a brilliant result for us here. We have won the German Super Cup, a new trophy in the cabinet, lost in the semi-final of the Pokal to Dortmund, but we've won the Bundesliga yet again, this time by 5 points over Borussia Dortmund. Bayern Munich finishing, where are they? Third place on 68 points. It's been a great year for us. We're very happy with that. And on top of that, we got to the semi-finals of the Champions League as well. A great performance there, being knocked out by Man United. Let's take a look at some of these games. We were only 5 points ahead of Dortmund, so it was quite a tight league. And actually, we played them on the last game of the season. And you know what? If we had lost that, what would that have meant? We would have been on 72. So you're telling me, I think if I'm getting this right, if Dortmund had won that game against us, they would have actually won the league, and it was at their ground as well. So we've done really well there to steal the title from them on the last day of the season. We nearly got Manchester United out of the tournament as well, nearly got to a Champions League final. Elvedi giving us the advantage in the first leg, but unfortunately it wasn't to be, with Anthony scoring twice. We knocked out Roma and Celtic to get there, so maybe not the hardest run in the world, but you know what? We'll certainly take it. Let's have a look at these goals in our final game here that won us the title. Karabek and Ivan Nusic scoring. It was a really close game actually, and Turati getting a 7.9 rating probably shows you how we ended up winning. I think it was just a Turati showing goal, making save after save. But let's take a look at these goals, shall we? Here's our first one. Zephyrus with the ball out to Valeri, who loses the ball, but it's a bit of a bobble, and our captain on the day, Ivan Nusic, picks it up. Karabek with a bit of a dodgy finish. He's number 2 for some reason. I don't know why that is for a player that's playing as a number 10, and he slots it in. Amrabat there, number 50, playing it to Noah Lang on the wing. He goes past his man. I thought he'd been brought down for a penalty. Karabek is a bit of a sloppy bit of work from the goalkeeper, but we're able to nod it in into the back of the net, and then late on we nearly caused some issues for ourselves here with Giovanni Reina going in. He's passed it across goal and Matthias Tell has managed to finish, but it did end up being 2-1. Dortmund thought they had some hope, but no, it wasn't to be. We have won the title. On top of that, we've upgraded our facilities a little bit during the course of this rebuild. We're a 4.5-star club, and financially we have got £178 million in the banks with no real debts or loans either. The staff situation is now one of the best in the league, and we've got a team of players that are also very, very young. That's great to see because it means we have built a team here that could compete for the next few years. Only a few older players in the club that I'm sure we could quite comfortably replace. So I'm definitely saying this rebuild was a success. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button for us. Subscribe if you haven't already as we push for 20k. But most of all, have a great day everyone, and I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.